As Nigerian workers look forward to a new minimum wage, the federal government failed to reach an agreement with the organized labor as debate heightens on how much an average Nigerian worker should earn monthly. On Wednesday, the Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress rejected the sum of $48,000 as the new minimum wage, which is roughly $32, based on the official rate of the Central Bank of Nigeria as of Thursday, May 16. For an average Nigerian worker to receive $48,000 monthly, it means he earns $1,600 daily, a little above $1. However, the minimum wage in the U.S. is $7.25 per hour, which is roughly $10,500. This explains the poor living standard of an average Nigerian worker. But are pensioners secured? Well, I can't answer this either, but I know that the federal government has announced a plan to tap from the 20 trillion naira pension savings to develop infrastructure in the country. But following reactions from Nigerians who demanded that the 20 trillion pension funds should not be tampered with, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, said there is no plan to illegally access the pension funds. How can the welfare of Nigerian worker be improved? We get to hear your thoughts on this and many more issues about the new minimum wage and the pension funds via a dedicated phone number as soon as the conversation commences. I'm Hamza Idris. Good evening and thank you for joining us. To put a round peg in a round hole, we have in the studio Iliyasu Gadu, a public affairs analyst, to discuss the issues before we open the line for you. Mala Iliyasu, welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, Hamza.
How much do you earn?
It's a secret.
All right, fine. Okay, now let's take some tidbits. Cattle merchants in Kara Market, Bukuru, just south local government area of Plateau State, are protesting against planned relocation of the market by the state government. On Monday, the Plateau State government gave 2 weeks ultimatum to the cattle dealers to vacate on the grounds that the market will be converted into a stadium. But the traders said relocating from the market to Gero or Sabangida area proposed as the new cattle market will put their lives in danger, considering the ethno-religious crisis that has been bedeviling the state for many years. And elsewhere, the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria has on Friday commenced the sales of what they call e-tax at airports. This follows the presidential directive that all citizens are mandated to pay for e-tax at all the 24 federal airports across the country. The e-tax sales is a form of revenue generation which applies to everyone, including the president and the vice president. Once again, let's welcome to the studio. Should the president pay e-tax?
Well,
and will he pay? Let me put it this way.
Well, are you sure he's going to pay from his pocket?
I'm asking you whether he should pay or he should not pay, or whether
the question is
the long protocol that we even have, the long convoy, whether they will respect the e-tax.
The question is whether it's even necessary in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah, because it seems that this government has come to tax everything. In fact, if it's possible to tax the air that you and I breathe, it looks like they can do it and they will do it. But because the air is not in their control, so they have to, leave it at that. But then you have to ask yourself, is this government merely for tax purposes? Has it been set up to tax just about everything in this country, to tax the living daylights out of Nigerians? And then it appears that every day we wake up to expect there's going to be a tax on everything.
But is it unusual? We learned from those who actually japa that so many taxes, in other parts of the world.
But those guys who have japad, if I use the term, they have at least a living wage from which they can pay those taxes. But here, who will be able to pay those taxes? We have taxes on telecoms, that is in the office. We have taxes on cyber security. We have all kinds of levies.
Personal income tax. Education tax.
Every damn thing is going to be taxed in this country. And then what are you going to tax the people on when you can't even give them a living wage? You just said it now, Mala Hamza, that, the minimum wage in the United States is 10,000 naira per hour.
Yeah.
In Nigeria, it's a derisive...
Meaning that if you work for like 12 hours?
Yes.
Do people work for 12 hours? Maybe
Well,
7 to 7 or 7 to 5, maybe 10 hours.
Yes.
Meaning you have 100,000.
100,000, yes. And all that. And then some people do also creatively work other shifts. After they've done this shift, they have other shifts as security guards and all that. And you put all of this together, they have some good money. But here, where is the job? Where are the jobs? And where is even the income for you to even tax?
Okay, we'll go back to that. Yes, our other tidbit, of course, besides the airport e-tax, is the disturbing situation in Plateau. Do you think that market should be relocated? Because I know you know the place.
No, for me, I'm filled with a lot of sadness when I hear, the news coming out of Plateau, all this while has been one of tragedy, one of violence, crisis. This is the Plateau I grew up. I grew up in Jos. That is where, my formative years as a teenager, in fact, as a youngster, up to a teenager. In fact, I have my siblings in Jos. Jos is more or less
your home.
In my home. And those areas are places we used to visit to go to buy one thing or the other. I know that particular market. And
in Bukuru. It will be converted to stadium.
Yeah.
You think stadium is better than the market?
But I think there's a stadium in Bukuru, ATM Stadium, which is on near the expressway from Jos.
Okay.
So I don't know why that stadium cannot be upgraded for the purpose that the governor wants it to. But what's the explanation? Is it that it is constituting a health hazard? Is it that the stadium it's no longer needed? I mean, the stadium, the cattle market is no longer required in that place because there are developments that have caught up with that area, or you want to. These are things that should be explained.
And the marketers, I mean the cattle merchants there, they said where they want them to go around Dorawa, the other side is where you are going to Barricade line. Yeah. This is the area where over 200 cattle killed. I mean, of recent. Not to talk about the one around the Irigwe area, which was last week.
Yes.
There also over 150 cattle were killed. What will be actually the outcome from these policies of government vis-a-vis the inability of people around those communities to tolerate each other? Well,
unfortunately, the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Muftuang, he entered ascended the administration under a pall of violence. He had barely been, inaugurated when violence, broke out in his home local government of Mangu, during the Christmas, or about the Christmas celebrations. And it's unfortunate that these things have continued. Almost every month you hear one issue of crisis here and the other. And I think by now you should have been able to find a way of managing it so that understanding what's at stake and what can be done to manage it so that these things don't occur. Now, this sort of thing has to be, in conjunction with stakeholders. Stakeholders, of the area, and the very important personalities in the state to find out what really is the problem in Plateau State, because this thing has been recurring, and we need to be able to find a stop to it. Plateau used to be the home for all. Used to be the bastion of peace and clement weather, and everybody always wanted to go to Plateau State. Jos especially, it was a place where you had this feeling of security. You had this feeling. I was growing up in Jos. I didn't have any feelings of insecurity because the town was a modicum of peace and coexistence.
People are actually disturbed, going by the circumstances in which he actually escaped being removed, like many other governors across the country. When their cases went to the Supreme Court, it was, a settled matter in many. For that they will be removed, and the expectation was that now that they have escaped, they will find a way of actually reconciling and then get the buy-in of people. In Plateau, for instance, because we've received quite a number of letters now, so many decisions by the governor. For instance, it's like a crossroad, Plateau. Yeah. If you are going to Borno from Abuja, or you go to Kano. Or, no, Kano is the other side, of course, but maybe from Lafia,
yes,
or you come from the south and you want to move to Bauchi, to Potiskum, up to Maiduguri, even Cameroon, or Adamawa on the other side, you have to pass. But if it is a trailer, maybe you take anything that you buy from the south that will take it up north, and you arrive just around 6 a.m. You have to be there until 9 p.m. You have to be there until 9 p.m. and vice versa. If you take cattle from Borno, you have to take it to Enugu or Port Harcourt or wherever, and you come to Jos around maybe 2 p.m. in the afternoon or in the morning. You have to be there until 9 p.m. before you proceed. They put that, not quite long, and then now this issue. So is it that governors cannot be called upon?
That's what we're saying, because what I'm saying is they have to do these policies in conjunction with stakeholders.
Yeah.
And stakeholders in this case are not necessarily the government or the governor, but people who also use the state, in this case, transit to other parts of Nigeria. And these parts of Nigeria that are taking distance are areas where they are needed. Now, if you institute these policies, what you're going to do is to try to stop the wheel of commerce. And that is not good, because at the end of the day, the trailers will end up spending more while they're staying there. And at the end of the day, the produce will not get to the market.
Where they get wasted.
Or they get
if
wasted.
They are perishable.
Exactly. So there is no way that the governor cannot escape being accused of targeting a particular set of people or trying to make things difficult unnecessarily for certain kinds of people. And this will not help the matter, but exacerbate. You need to be able to look. There's been so much violence in Plateau, so much disconnect in Plateau. We need to be able to get people together, because they are performing a very important role in the ecosystem in the country. So we need to we should not let people feel that they are excluded in what is happening, or this state does not belong to this or that, and that sort of thing. It does not augur well for this country. We need to be able to have, because most of us in Nigeria, one way or other, all states are transit states to other places. If you want to travel from here to Kano, you, for instance, have to transit through Kaduna State.
Yeah.
And so if there's a policy,
Niger first,
yeah. Exactly, then Kaduna State, then before you get into Kano. Now, if there are policies that do not help your movement of you as a person, movement of the goods and services that are needed in those areas, then we are trying to restrict ourselves, restrict our commerce, restrict the space by which we can do things in this country and ease our lives.
Very sad. Okay, now back to the topic of today. Two topics we want to discuss, and we will open the line. But I want to have your take on maybe the pension. Why is it difficult? Subsidy removed since May last year. Now we are in May, 1 year, but they are still debating what to pay the civil servant. They offered 48. Is it worth it?
No, not necessarily. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's the way things have jumped, more or less, galloped prices. Even the National Bureau of Statistics have lost count of how to keep up with the inflationary pressures in this country. Every month they bring in new figures of inflation, prices of goods rising. So, we need to be able to, the government needs to be able to be sensitive, look at the plight under which the Nigerian people live, the difficulties that they have to face with the price inflation, with services going up and all kinds of things, and give them a realistic wage. 45 or 48,000 is way below what is required, because 45,000 in a month cannot, in all honesty, take care of
maybe a bachelor,
not even a bachelor. Then not to talk about somebody with wife and kids, 2-3 kids or so. That is, out of it, you are expected to pay your school fees, your feeding, your rent, and other things, transportation. Come on, let's be realistic. The people who are making these, policies who are unrealistic, because they have been taken care of by the government.
Okay, we'll come to that. What about the other issue now? That 20 trillion there for pensioners. Maybe you have pension, or you start this thing. Will you subscribe the idea of government using it to develop the infrastructure?
No, well, government tapping into pension funds is not a new thing. Not in this country, but all over the world, it's done.
Okay.
But it's done under very strict conditions that cannot and should not be, broached. And I'm a pensioner, and this is very, very sensitive to me. And I believe that I'm not comfortable, that the government of this, I'm not comfortable with the government touching my pension fund.
Why? Is it because there is no trust, no love lost between you and government?
Because the government keeps saying the same thing. When it removed subsidies, it says it was going to make available the savings to develop infrastructure. When it came to say it was going to levy taxes and put taxes on people and all that, it was the same thing it said. But we have not seen any intervention. Electricity. It was, to help, pay for social services like health, infrastructure, education. We have not yet seen those. The student loan that was supposed to even take off has not taken off.
We have the, education tax.
Exactly.
They extract from your salary and your pension.
So if you say you are going to, tamper with the pension funds, it's very sensitive and it's very discomforting, because at the end of the day, you would know the way the governments of Nigeria have been managing its finances has not given anybody hope that even with this, from this pension, we are going to get even what the government has promised. And in any case, let's not forget, pensions are from the meager savings of employers, hoping that at the end of at retirement, they will have something to hang on to pay for those things that they cannot, their salaries, their loss of salary cannot pay for. And then if you now have a government that is opaque in the way it runs itself and the way it runs the public finances, it's very disconcerting, because at the end of the day, we may not be appraised of what the government has done. We may not even see what the government has done. It may go the way of other, government finances that we know. And it's not something that is comforting for many people in this country, pensioners like me. Because at the end of the day, who is going to explain to me? It's what I live on. I live on pensions. I'm not a businessman. I live on my pensions. Look at my gray hair. And then you now come and tell me the government, and then somebody, we've seen situations where government officials make away with government finances. We've seen it. What
are some of the shock absorbers, governments? I know you stayed in many countries during your active career. What are some of the shock absorbers that governments put for the worker, so that even after retirement or when you are asked to pay taxes, you don't really feel shortchanged, you don't even feel, cheated?
Let me give an example of Britain, for instance.
Yes.
There is the National Health Service, which guarantees people health. Especially
in the real sense.
Yeah, the National Health Service. It's a model.
You will not be afraid to fall ill.
Yeah, you have GPs all over. You have health services that really take care of the individual, his health, even up to operations, as expensive as it is. A lot of things are provided under the National Health Service. Then transportation is way affordable and comfortable and affordable, and also within the reach of everybody, and it's also reliable. Then you have other things, housing. You have a lot of things that are available, all from the governments in those countries that borrow from the pension funds and plow it into services that are available to people. And people can see, yes, this is our money going into these things. At the end of the day, yes, the government can and do borrow from the pension fund, turn it into mutual funds, so that it becomes,
revolving.
And then it's also backed by government bonds, which is more or less like the state is actually placing itself on hook so that it will provide for the people realistically, reliably, and efficiently. But in Nigeria...
Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, viewers, it is now time for you to call in to lend your voice to the conversation through a dedicated phone line displayed on your screen. But remember to be precise and avoid foul language. 2 topics: should government borrow from the savings of pensioners? And then, what should be the minimum wage of an average worker in Nigeria? Over to you as we expect your call. Now, let me take it to you before we receive our call. What should be the minimum wage in Nigeria?
Well, from the way things are, going, because every day the inflation rate is going up. When you see a product today, a bottle of Coke now is about 400 naira. Ordinarily, if you go to a hotel, you want to go to a hotel and drink in a hotel, a bottle of Coke, you pay 2,000 naira.
I saw one of the brands, of malt drink.
Yes,
700.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, the government has to be realistic, and government has to look at what it needs to pay for people to, what is called a living wage, not minimum wage this time around, because with the inflationary pressure and with lack of productivity and people not being able to earn enough, you have to find a way of this. In fact, you have to go further than what we already do in this country in terms of social economics. We have to find a way of guaranteeing our people a job, and then the perks to go with, because these are things that are not rocket science. That these are things that are realistic, and these are things that is required so that the worker knows that he's working for a state and he's earning something from the state, even if it means guaranteeing him, that look, some of the things that burden you in terms of education, paying for your health, paying for everything, we will take it off you. That is what happens even in the capitalist countries. Because the argument is that, no, we can't allow this to happen because even in the capitalist countries, even in America, these things are provided in a social way where everybody has at least the benefit of the system. Not in Nigeria where the individual, if he doesn't have money, he's on his own. He doesn't have access to health care facilities. He doesn't have access to education. His children cannot be provided with good quality education. He cannot have efficient and reliable transportation. He has to transport himself to work. He cannot even, when he falls sick, he cannot go to hospital and get the best kind of, or at least a reasonable kind of health society.
And he pays for where he lives.
And he pays usually where he lives. So in effect, the state for most people, Nigerians, does not even exist. And this is in contrast to the countries that are asking us to do the same thing. To remove those services that are required for the citizens of this country to belong, to be part of the system. Now, how can you get the people of this country to be part of the system, to work efficiently, and to remove their minds from some of these burdens when you don't even pay them something that they will actually use to be able to offset this?
Now, is subsidy legal, and does it exist maybe in UK, in US, subsidy in any form?
Yeah, in virtually every aspect of life. Even the industries, even the big companies are subsidized one way or the other. For instance, the defense industry, where you have all this cutting edge, arms.
Yes.
Manufactured by some of the big companies like Lockheed Martin, Grumman, Boeing. They are given huge incentives in form of tax breaks, in form of contracts way above the normal rates. They are even given all kinds of breaks so that they can compete with counterparts across in other parts of the world. For instance, Boeing, that makes commercial jets, cannot rely just only on commercial jets, because if it does that, it will fall against its counterpart in Europe, which is Airbus. So you are given defense contracts which are more or less like 3 times above the going rate, so that to cover up and to be able to stay afloat, to compete with Airbus. So these are things. And also some of the citizens of these countries are given endowments in terms of subsidies on health, subsidies on education, and all that. These are some of the things that the government provides
for the people.
For the people, and it provides it not because of anything, but because it has to pay for social peace. Otherwise, if you have eruptions, going up,
you find it difficult to control.
You find you pay more.
All right, Iliyasu. So we have our first caller from all the way Edo State, in the person of Ido. Welcome to the program, Ido.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, welcome. We're happy to have you.
Yeah, the issue of minimum wage.
Yes.
All of us have things to do to make it work out. Like all those people who are stealing Nigerian money, taking it to overseas. Why can't they use the money in Nigeria so that we can give employment to our people? And the one you are debating on the pension, if the government touch the pension, how are we sure that they are going to use the money for what they said they are going to use it for? Not that only one person or one family will just carry the money out of the country. And after the government leave the place, who are you going to hold responsible? Now, the judiciary have their own jobs to do. How are you going to be doing a case of corruption for almost 6-7 years? And we are saying the country will move forward. You're supposed to follow the constitution. If you steal the government money, within 6 months, finish the case. If you have to collect the money from the person, like China, corruption, death sentence. God give us all necessary resources to survive in Nigeria, but our leaders are squandering the money. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ido. Okay, Iliyasu. I think you should address this before we get another caller. He said those who are stealing the money, assuming they are investing in Nigeria, it will have done the magic for us. Could that do the magic?
Well, no, it's true. In fact, that is really the kernel of the issue, because the government wants funds. That's why they want funds to run the government and to provide services.
Yes.
That's why the government says we are going to remove subsidies. And then the savings from the subsidies, we are going to provide services, which is noble. But then, who are the people abusing the subsidies? That is the first thing, because the corruption is actually the one that is killing the subsidies.
Because they said that the subsidy is even back now, that they are even paying more than what Buhari was paying.
Yeah, but the question is, who are getting... The government says there was no subsidies. It has already removed subsidies.
Of course, as far as you and I are concerned, there is no subsidy.
So which is...
So where is the money going to?
That's the big question. And if you check, investigate properly, you'll find that it's the same sweetheart deals that are going.
And you know, said the judiciary to greater extent is aiding and abetting, because a simple case, it will drag for 7-10 years without being decided. Could that be true?
It's often said that in this country, you only get justice, you don't get judgment. You only get judgment, you don't get justice. Judgment that suits the whims and caprices of the people who are rich, who can afford to buy the best lawyers, who can afford to filibuster on the cases.
Is that why since 1999, less than 5 governors have been convicted?
Exactly.
Even though more than 30 have been taken to...
Virtually every some of the governors that are even present, ex-governors that are present in this administration have corruption cases on them. But where have these cases been settled to their own conclusion?
Then who should we blame, Iliyasu? Because the laws are there.
Yes.
Who should we blame? Is it that the judges don't have the courage to pass judgment, or they are also scared that...
No, it's unfortunate that, you see, the constitution that we operate is a constitution that guarantees checks and balances. Judiciary is supposed to be, an independent arm of government to dispense justice where it's necessary and do it in a way that satisfies everybody.
It happens in another place. Anyway, let's take our second caller in the person of Jibrin from Gwagwalada. Welcome to the program, Jibrin.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, good evening. We want to have your take on 2 issues. What should be the minimum wage in Nigeria? And then, should government be allowed to touch pension savings?
No, one of the things, government will not touch pension. One, they should not touch it. They should not touch pension.
What are your reasons?
Yes, because this is at the retirees, those who have served government. Why should they touch their own? Can politicians allow them to touch their money? Then two, that minimum wage they are proposing, the one the federal government says 48 is too small. A minimum of even Nigeria's senator is more than the governor of the U.S. Only our people are very stingy, selfish. They only put themselves on top without considering the other.
So if you were to suggest, how much should they be paid? What should be the minimum wage? Just give us a figure.
The minimum to be as 100 and 150. Thanks, sir.
Okay, between 100 and 150. This is what... all right, thank you very much, Jibril. Thank you for calling. Yes, he said those in position of authority are greedy and they are selfish. He cited senators, for instance, what they earn in a month. It's like he's trying to say maybe they should reduce the pikes of those occupying political offices to augment what should be given to workers.
Exactly. If you do an opinion poll around the country, that is what the answer you're going to get. Because we are, I mean, you could see that the remunerations for our legislators, even not just senators, but right across the board.
Starting from councillors, local government chairmen, or what? It's
unjustifiable, especially under the current system that we, Nigerians are pining on. It's unjustifiable and very, very reckless for a senator or for a legislator or for a governor, to be. It's unjustifiable. And then the workers who are working, asking for something. Yes, okay, let's have a serious negotiation, because what they're asking, out of what they're asking, is where they're going to be.
But they're asking for 650, right?
Yeah, it's a beginning. Let's sit down and talk realistically. Now, out of 650, you are offering 48,000 naira. That is very derisory. That is very, 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 very...
Then who will come and sit? Anyway, I will ask this, but let's take our third caller from Benue State in the person of Peter. Peter, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Yes, hello, Peter. We are with you. Go ahead. Hello. It's like we lost Peter. You wanted to say we should sit and negotiate. Since January, that was when the committee set off by the president to look at, the variables and come with a realistic minimum wage. They started work. You have governors, you have former head of service, leading the you have the organized sector. Every other person that you can think of is in that committee. But here we are.
But the question you have to ask yourself is, why is it that when it comes to payment of realistic wages to workers, it drags on unnecessarily? But the senators, the legislators, the governors, and within the twinkle of an eye, they are able to, in fact, without even debating about it, they're able to,
agree on what they should give themselves.
Without even debating it on the floor of the Senate or National Assembly or assemblies across the country, they're able to agree on what to pay for themselves, and they find ways by which they can implement it expeditiously. But why is it that for the workers, people who bear the brunt of services and all that in the country, you're dragging this thing?
Like I would say, there is deception in the process, because we have salaries and wages, right?
So many commissions in the...
Yes, then why committee? Because Nigerians have come to terms with the fact that whenever you say you're going to have committee, it is going to fizzle out without any positive result. Of course, we have a caller in the person of Lawal Bichi. Lawal, welcome to the program.
Hamza, good evening. How are you?
We are fine here. And how is Bichi?
Yeah, fine. And welcome your guest.
Okay, Iliyasu Gadu, yes.
Thank you very much. Hello.
The issue of minimum wage, as the previous time when I called you, my advice is 100,000.
With 100,000?
Yes, you say?
You say 100,000. That is your suggestion.
At that previous time, I say it should be 100,000 for minimum wage. But surprisingly now, the federal government has took 48,000.
So where should be the meeting point now?
So I just imagine how the federal government is taking this 48,000 that it cannot enable a hacker to take off even transportation from his residence to the office.
All right. Thank you, Lawan.
And the issue of using the retiree pension to another capital project. You see, we have an experience in Kano when the Konkoso government took the pensioners' money and built the house in order to get the interest, and the pensioner will benefit. See, more than 10 years now, no pensioner has been benefiting from that project. I think that one is a great mistake that federal government has made.
Okay. All right. Lawan, thank you very much. Thank you. His last point is germane. He said an example in Kano, and of course we are all living witnesses. The Konkosia estate, you have the Bandarao along Daura Road, and then the Amana. The two are along Kano Zaria Road. That Konkoso used the money to build those hundreds of houses, but up to now they are unoccupied. Very few, of course, and many are just living there for...
No, they're not unoccupied.
Not all are occupied.
No, rodents are there, and reptiles.
So where is the problem? Is it that the contracts were inflated to the extent that the retirees who are supposed to benefit from the houses could not afford them? Where is the problem?
No, I think the last caller clearly, situated the issue where it should. That it's not that we don't want, we can prevent the government, or the government should not access. In any case, there's even a cap. It's 5%.
Yeah.
That the government.
So anything beyond that.
Anything beyond that. But then you know how things are in this country. Let's face facts. The Minister of Finance was being clever by half. He made it sound as if they were not willing to, but he said lawfully. Now, he did not explain what in this case.
Somebody asked whether maybe they have even taken the money. Of course, we have a caller from Kaduna in the person of Gimba. Welcome to the program, Gimba.
Good evening.
Good evening. You are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Can you reduce the volume of your TV set? Gimba, can you hear me? Yeah, okay, yeah. Reduce the volume so that we can hear you. Then go ahead.
Yes, I'm very interested in your program. The issue of government putting pension money up to 20 trillion is not a welcome idea. Because when you look at many retirees, when people have finished up to 2 years, 3 years, they are not getting their gratuity. So instead of government to say the needful to make sure that the income administration grants on their best, to give those money to people that are retired. When you look at it, you just 2 years, 3 years, 3 years, you are not getting any of their payment. People are dying every day, and the government wants to use that money to do something with it. So that one those that have money, they are not getting their payment. So I'm appealing to the government to make sure that those people that have retired get their full payment. Because look at what happens, what is happening now. If you have not been clear, if it is 1 or 2 or 3 years, you will not get the pension. Not just that there is somebody that gets their pension. And if you didn't get your pension, how do you set up for your family? So coming to the issue of the minimum wage, the government is bringing people and control the condition in this country. Because even if the government say they will give 200,000 as pension, as
salary,
minimum wage, we will have the service grant now. The 200,000 will not take anybody somewhere. So the government should do the needful. I'm appealing to the government, and the minimum wage should be 100,000. What the government should do the needful to make the economy very important.
so that the 100,000 can actually do something for the workers.
All right.
So if they decided to pay 500,000 and the economy is still at it, then that means we are still going back to the one or what is happening. But the economic situation should address by the minimum wage and the government to push it to 100,000 at least.
All right.
That's
Thank you.
addressed.
All right. Thank you, Gilbert. He has spoken at length. What will you say? 100? He said, fair enough. And then for the pension, it's like he's on the same page with you and all the other callers who said they are not in tune with the plan to use that money.
Well, I think let us look at it realistically. What we really need in this country is not just minimum wage,
Okay.
but the entire economy itself. We need to raise the productivity level of Nigerian workers, such that what they produce goes into what the country can afford. Now, if you increase the minimum wage, even if you increase to whatever 100, 200, it will still not address the issue of how inflation is going, because
It will not.
It will not.
So it's not about pay rise.
It's not about pay rise exactly, or increasing, the pay of workers. It's about making workers produce.
But how can you do that? But maybe Mike will answer this. How can you make the workers productive? He's calling from Jos. Mike, welcome to the program.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
To be precise, I want to speak on this issue of minimum wage.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. If you look at it very well, I will say the federal government is not being fair to workers. In the sense that we, the workers, they are aware of what is going on, the inflation in this nation. We are suffering. Imagine, transport alone, they are saying they are going to offer 48,000. Just imagine this. Transportation to work. Just imagine somebody who is still in Maraba and he goes to area 11 to work and come back. In 2 weeks, can that 48,000 take him? Not to talk of feeding, not to talk of school fees, not to talk of this high in tariff. You see, we are not asking for much from them. Let me tell you, any salary below 200,000 in this present situation is not manageable. So I would advise that the labor should stand firm and fight this thing to the logical conclusion. We should make sure that the reasonable amount is agreed upon. That's my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, you are talking about raising productivity.
Yeah, because you see,
Mike is he's trying to be practical. Now, so where can we have the...
No, I'll give you an example, for instance.
Yes.
In developed economies,
Yes.
the workers as well as the government work together towards, determining issues of productivity, prices, and incomes. Okay? So, for instance, let me just give you an example. In a country like Germany, they have what they call co-determination.
Co-determination.
Yeah, the co-determination is a system whereby the workers are also part owners of the economy. For instance, one of the biggest, German, industrial union is called the IG Metall.
Okay.
That's the workers in the entire metal and machine.
Just
industries.
like when we had the textile workers.
Exactly, they were part and parcel of the productive process as well as the management process. So because they would now undertake to be part of the decision making in terms of what is required to run that sector. It's not just a matter of employers, but the employees also are part of the stake in the productive process. You don't just give them a wage. They also invest some of what they earn in the system so that they are part owners and partakers in the sector. And that case, they not only earn from what they produce, but they also participate in the decision-making process. That's what happens in a number of countries around the world. But here is the government on one side and the workers on the others. And then we do not know how to determine the productive process, how to improve the productive process, how to even participate in the decision making that will make production in this country work and work for everybody.
All right, then let's take Uba from Zaria. Welcome to the program and thank you for your patience. Before we now bring you in. Yes.
Good evening. How are you?
We are fine, Uba. Thank you.
So, well, my own contribution, you see, when people will be saying with regard to this living wage, people should look at the taxes that the government impose on us. Like now you see this tariff on electricity. My own, I am receiving just like 55,000 naira.
In a month?
Now they brought a bill of 40,000 naira for me.
40,000?
Yes, 40,000 naira. So now,
what is the size of your house, Uba? What is the size of your house? How many bedrooms?
I just have room and parlor too.
Wow. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. They said I am in band A or which band like this. So when you look at it now, okay, from my salary now, from 65, if I remove 40 for NEPA, remain 25. The transportation for my children to school, my own transportation to working place. Maybe we will just, all of us will say we will be fasting.
And you can't fast.
Is it the way to live in a country? Look at, just imagine just these figures that I gave you. This is exactly what is happening. How can I pay NEPA bill 40 from 65,000 naira?
Okay, now what will you prescribe to government? Because we're now looking for a solution as we round up the program.
You see, these people, they are just speaking English language, but they don't know what it means.
Okay.
The Oyibo that has the language, they know how to take care of their people. But they are, all of them are they call themselves Lagos boys.
Okay. Thank you, Uba.
It's just unfortunate.
All right, thank you.
It's unfortunate.
All
just
right.
Look at this thing that I gave you now.
Yeah, a very good example. Thank you very much.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. We're rounding up. You cited examples. So what should Nigeria learn? Should we continue taking the prescriptions of IMF, World Bank, and all that? Or we should have our homegrown template that we can solve the problem?
It's amazing that a country that is the largest black country in the world, it's amazing that a country that has 200 million people, several universities with economics departments cannot develop its own economic pattern or economic blueprint. It has to rely on people who do not even know how we survive, who do not even know the resource base, who do not even know the workers base and everything about this country. All they need is they bring in a one-size-fits-all economic prescription and say you should...
So in 10 seconds, because we have gone to the... What should Tinubu do now to get out of this quagmire?
Tinubu has been sold a dummy. He should get back in the interest of Nigeria and his own government. Because if we continue the way we are continuing, we are going to have a problem on our hands and he will be the greatest victim of that problem. So he must come back, engage with Nigerians, engage with stakeholders in Nigeria, engage with workers, engage with all kinds of people so that we can begin to say, look, yes, we're going to go this path. Even if it means we are going to be walking on the road to get the work. But let us know that at the end of the day, this will help our generations to come. But this path we've taken cannot take us anywhere because there is no light at the end of this dark tunnel that Tinubu is taking us to.
All right. Thank you very much, Iliyasu Gadu, for helping me to anchor the program and answering some of the issues raised by our numerous callers. Thank you for coming.
Thanks very much, Hamza.
Yes, viewers, we want to thank you for being part of the program, and here comes to the end of this edition, which we hope you found engaging and informative. Be sure join in Daily Politics airing every weekday and our special package on Friday, during which we open a telephone line for you to comment on national issues as we did today. For now, bye-bye from here. I'm Hamza Idris.